Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Stages Community Talkback, Honky Tonk Laundry by Roger Bean. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to join us in the chat, and then we're going to introduce the director and the cast of the show for our Talkback. So I hope everybody is doing well today. I hope you all enjoyed the show last night. Just come on in and join us, and we will get started shortly. Hey. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us for Stages Community Talkback for Honky Tonk Laundry by Roger Bean. We are going to be joined today by the director and the cast of the show. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go ahead and introduce those folks for our Q&A. So first up, we have director of Honky Tonk Laundry and artistic associate for Stages, Mitchell Greco. Hi, Mitchell.
Hi, Ebony. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Next, we have Holland Vavra, who plays Katie Lane Murphy in Honky Tonk Laundry.
Hi.
Hello. And then Miss Brooke Wilson, who plays Lana Mae Hopkins.
Hello.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for joining us. And we are so happy to invite the community to ask us questions about the show. Again, we hope you guys enjoyed the live stream last night. So Mitchell, why don't you take us through the evolution of this show? Starting from when you guys started rehearsals in February now at this point, to where you ended up today with a live broadcast.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, a very long, wild ride. Like you said, we started rehearsals in February. We rehearsed for 3 weeks. We had Roger Bean, who wrote the show. He came into Houston. He was with us through rehearsals, making changes to the show, writing some parts of it to Brooke and Holland. He added a new song during that process. It was very fun, really exciting. And we had 4 previews at the beginning of March. And on what was supposed to be our opening night was the night that basically Houston shut down, stages shut down. We'd never had our opening night. We thought that we would take like a 2-week sabbatical just to let the virus work its way through, let things calm down. I mean, we were all so young and hopeful then.
So naive.
2 weeks turned into 2 months, and months turned into years.
Don't say that.
But it was always the goal to get the first thing back was going to be Honky Tonk, because it's ready. The show, we were excited to share with everyone, because the whole idea behind our third space in the Gordy, the Rochelle and Max Levitt stage, is to house a long-running production and see how that model will work in Houston, because Houston doesn't have that theater. And so we were all so excited to try out this theory with Honky Tonk Laundry, which we all had such an incredible time working on. And so whenever we were going to come back, that was going to be the first one back. So I guess it must have been around October when we finally realized it's going to be a little bit before we can have audiences back in our space. So we decided to pivot and to see what other options we have. We're malleable. We can do other things. And we came upon this idea of a live stream, which is really exciting. It's a live broadcast. The actors and the crew and I'm there every night performing the show live for y'all at home. And that's what we went back into rehearsals for that. I guess that was late October. And here we are, the week of the live broadcast. And that's kind of the Cliff's Notes version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a wild ride indeed, a wild ride indeed. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and invite all of our guests to put their questions in the comments. Go ahead and put your questions there and we will read them aloud. Holland, while we wait for folks to put their questions in the comment section, why don't you tell us about some of the things that might be different from performing live on stage and performing for something that's going to be live broadcast? You have been on on stages for years. So this has to be a great big change for you.
Yeah, it is. Living in this, I'll say it, unprecedented time. That's a buzzword for it. That's the $64 word for 2020. But we can't, Brooke and I in the show, we had a lot of really sweet moments where we could be a little less than 6 feet apart. So when we were going back and starting to reblock the show, she and I would instinctively stop and say, nope, we can't do that. We have to stay away from each other just for safety reasons and distancing and stuff like that. So that's one big thing that I don't even think, and Mitchell could probably attest to this, I'm not sure anyone would even notice that it's something that we had to do, like a marked difference between the blocking from the original production and then this one. But I do miss being able to hug Brooke during the show, and we can no longer stand on the same platform together, but I think it still completely works. So it's good either way. We're being safe and we're still getting the art out there to people, and we're doing what we're doing. Stages and everyone is doing exactly what they can do right now, but it is definitely different having to put your mask on before you can walk outside of your dressing room. And I don't always remember. And for me specifically, I've always had a hard time finding my light. And so when Mitchell tells me to look in a specific camera, it takes a couple days for me to realize what he means. Because I can't find my light. So finding my camera, what camera I'm supposed to deliver to, it's touch and go. But we get there. Yeah. It's been different. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, it's like learning how to pivot, because normally when you do theater, you don't have to look into cameras. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So it's pretty incredible.
In stages, we've always had to do the angle thing with our former 3201 columns, the infamous columns that we had over at 3201. We've always had to do angles at stages, and now Mitchell's like, we don't have to do them anymore. Guys, do what you want. Turn around. You can turn around. Everything's fine. I'll find you. So that's different too. But yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we do have a question that came in, Elizabeth Martin. I'm going to go ahead and ask the question to Brooke. Were there positive learning opportunities during this 2020 special experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think just having the opportunity to, I think anytime you get to revisit a show that you've already opened in a different time and now a different medium, you find new ways to deliver lines maybe, or a new little nugget of fun that you maybe didn't have the chance to find before. So part of that in this 2020 experience, with it being, as Holland was saying, masks and cameras and finding all of that, it's kind of been fun to find more nuance to the show that, again, anytime that, I know we've all done Trailer Park a few times. And so every time we revisit that, it feels kind of like that again, where we get to revisit a show that we learned and knew, well, and got it up and ready to open, and then having some time away from it. I also think, some of the appreciation for, not that we don't always appreciate getting to work and doing what we love to do, but it's just like there are so few opportunities right now for actors. And so just, I think being able to have this opportunity to do what we love and bring, as Holland has said, the art to the patrons and the people, and putting, you just have a little different appreciation for it, because so much of it is parts of the life that we never thought would be taken away. Something as simple as going to a grocery store, now we're really getting to truly be like, oh my gosh, we're so lucky to get to be able to do this. So there is, again, not that we're not always appreciative of it, but there's just a newfound affinity for getting to do what we love to do. And that's also been a positive thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, like finding, re-finding your being grateful for the things you have in your life has definitely been, I think, something we've all been appreciating in this year of 2020. This show is by, of course, Mr. Roger Bean, who has written other works that you guys have performed in, of course. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about what it is like to work with a writer or who is producing a new work, and what it's like to help either bring those characters to life for the first time or, one of the first times?
Yeah, I can speak from a directorial standpoint. Working with Roger, both he came down for when we did Life Could Be a Dream at Miller, I guess last year. Was that only last year? He came down for that as well because he wanted to work a new song into the show. But having him here for Honky Tonk was the first time I've actually spent a lot of time around a playwright and a work that's kind of still being changed. For the most part, I think there weren't major changes except for one song, but there were a lot of little changes that he made throughout just to help clarify story and character and through line. But it was wonderful. It was so fun having him there. He was so supportive and open, and
he's a good audience.
Yeah,
he's a great audience, and he just wanted to play. Like we love to play in the rehearsal room, and he was down to play with us. So that was. I had a really great time, and it was fun getting to collaborate on that level, which I have never done before.
Amazing.
I got to do it with him during Wonderettes Dream On.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because that was a world premiere, and that was really fun. Even though we didn't originate those roles initially in the original Wonderettes, that show was entirely Stage's original show from Roger, and he was here the whole time like he was then too, and he's wonderful, and his husband Perry is the two of the most wonderful people, and like Mitchell said, he's extremely just willing to let you take his work and do what you'd like with it, and he'll tell you whether it works or not, and so will Mitchell. But he's so nice about letting you try things, and he's very funny. He's very, very funny. And so when you have him in the room with Mitchell and like other people, it's a lot of comedy in one space.
Yes. We all need that in our workspace.
Yeah.
What about you, Brooke?
Well, I'd have to agree with what they said just about Roger, just how giving and fun and didn't take himself too seriously. I think sometimes I've been lucky enough to do a few things that were world premiere-ish in my career, and sometimes it's a really great collaborative room, and sometimes it isn't. And so he was super collaborative, and you didn't feel he wasn't so like precious with the material that we had. He wasn't able to see a different take on it, or he was also very aware of what Holland and I bring specifically to each character, and kind of play if he made any changes or just slight, line adjustments or whatever. He was aware of that and would give it to us. We had this, I can't remember who said it, but jokingly talked about sock puppets with socks. And then and I don't want to give too much away.
Oh no,
but so then he was like, yeah, let's do it. So, this silly, fun little really? Okay, let's do it. So that's super.
And COVID didn't kill that
fun.
bit.
No, we still have it. Yeah.
Good.
So him being willing to just, like they said, play and be kind of another, it just felt really collaborative, which I think is really, really awesome.
That's amazing. So to reiterate that, if you guys want to see these ladies do something with a sock puppet, you need to tune in to the live stream. We're not going to give away what it is, but they came up with it with the writer in the room. That's what I heard. Krista Ruiz has a question. What stands out to you the most in performing without an audience?
Show's a lot faster.
True. It's weird to be like, we're done with a number. No, okay, let's keep going. Like it's or like at the end, we're waving and
it's
waiting
very interesting.
for Mitchell to call clear. It's so strange. Or like at the intermission break, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna walk. I don't know. There's not like a blackout and you have to run off quietly. Like that's really strange. And I don't know. I feel like part of the reason we all do theater is because of that relationship you get with the audience each night. So it's actually been, again, very grateful to be doing it at all, but you do miss that element of, because every night it's a different relationship that you get to build. And so
the third character.
Yeah.
Or the fourth character, because I think your dryers might actually be the third character
Definitely.
of the show.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you guys feel like do you feel like it hinders like your ability to be funny because you don't get those like reciprocal laughter and like that return energy when you're doing comedy?
I think at first, I think Brooke and I could both agree on that at first, but we can hear Mitchell through his terrarium glass, so that's helpful.
Oh, I have to tell y'all, I haven't told you this yet. So for those of you who don't know, and why would you, I'm directing the show every night from my own isolated booth, so I can be separate from the actors. And I'm changing the cameras on this little machine. And so I'm running all these changes live every night with them. And I didn't think I could be heard. So they still make me laugh. The show still makes me laugh. So I'm just guffawing while working, thinking that their mics can pick me up. But last night I was informed that my laugh could be heard over the broadcast.
We could hear you. We
could
hear you.
Yeah. So from now on, I won't laugh. But just so
there it goes, Ebony. Then all of
just
our
know
laughter
I'm
is
still
in
giggling
background.
silently.
Oh, well,
but
thank you for telling us, because all tonight I'd be like, oh my God, we're not funny anymore. We're not funny anymore.
Write laughing on a piece of paper and put it on your terrarium glass so we know.
I know.
We can kind of
I love to hear Mitchell's laugh. Honestly, that is part of it. It's fun to kind of play with the camera though. Like we don't know what we're looking like or anything, but you know, like popping in and out of frame and things like that, and hearing Mitchell laugh, it's like, okay, well, there is still things that we're doing. So that does help encourage us to still keep doing our shtick as much as we can, even though we don't have that direct feedback. So yeah, it is a little bit like, are we?
But since we were able to do it in front of an audience, I think she and I both remember this was funny to an actual human being at one point. So we won't mess with it because someone thought this was funny at one point. So we'll just continue with this, despite that we only have our COVID compliance officer in the room who's seen the show and he's good. So he's not giving us any laughter either. Josh.
I have a question for y'all. How was it going back into the rehearsal room? I mean, did it all come back to you really quickly? Was it? I know what it's like on my end, but I never really talked to y'all about what it was like on your end.
I mean, I think it made me realize how much you associate your lines with blocking.
Oh yeah.
That was part, like the muscle memory of, and especially all the business with the washing machines and what clothes go where and what dryers buzzing when and all that. That is pretty much still the same, but I just didn't realize how truly in your body it is, not just your lines, but also the lines associated with very somewhat subtle but specific blocking. So that was kind of like, oh, so reblocking it was a little, but no, but it didn't feel like there was too much of a difference when we got back in there. Oh, and yes, and blocking is like the movement that Mitchell will give us, like maybe on this line, I'm going to go.
She's an educator.
Dryer. Yeah, it's kind of like a very specific way to move at each point in the line, or come over to this, sit here at that moment, stand up there. This dryer is going to buzz behind you at that moment. Take out the socks. Then, like, just very specific. Where's the socks again? Direction of how to not just deliver the lines and the intention behind it, but also the movement behind it. So that kind of surprised me a little bit about how much I had really learned with that blocking and that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think Brooke and I talked about it right when we got back in. We've both done trailer parks so many times, and I think that had we gone maybe one, I think Brooke, you and I actually did say this. Had we gone for one more week prior to stopping, we would have been so much more comfortable with it because we hadn't really gotten to that precipice of opening yet and having an audience. So I think that if we had done for like one more week, we could have come back into the rehearsal room and everything would have just kind of felt like it sat in a different way. Like we did trailer park for hundreds of years, and we could walk back into the room and she and I we could Who Shot Liberty Valance like every other day in that show. Which if you don't know that reference, it would take too long to explain it. But we probably could have withstood another good solid week of doing the show with an audience and then coming back to it, which doesn't necessarily feel like 8 months that we've been away from it.
Yeah.
It feels like it's gone faster, but then also not.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre feeling of being in solitary confinement.
Yes, bizarre.
Yeah.
Karen Lewis has a question. Are you performing live each time, or is the ticket that they're purchasing for a recording?
Yes, it is live every time. And
Anything
as I was
can
saying
happen.
before we started this today, my hand is shaking every time. Yeah, it's live.
Yeah, because Mitchell is, so the ladies are performing live every day in the theater. As you're watching, you're not watching a recording, you're watching them perform live in the theater. And Mitchell is taking you from camera angle to camera angle, right? Mitchell in his booth live.
Yep.
So Mitchell, do you want to explain a little bit more like how that works, like in your booth and like what you're doing there live?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I'll back up and say, let's talk about process a little bit more just to get some context. Whenever we got back into rehearsals in October for this live stream, like we mentioned before, there was a certain amount of re-blocking or restaging that had to happen, not only for safety compliance, keeping the actors 6 feet apart throughout the entire show, but also for camera blocking. So some things will have to change, like at this point, where can you stand closer to the cash register? Really like minute and frankly annoying things to have to do, right? I mean, one of the challenges I think of doing this on camera is that it takes away some of that spontaneity or flexibility I think that the actors have, at least from a physical sense. Because my cameras, we have 4 cameras throughout the theater that capture different angles, and each camera has different presets that we can send them to. So like camera 1, preset 1 is a wide shot, camera 1, preset 2 is slightly in, 3 is slightly in, 4 is at the door, 5 is, so each camera has its own presets. So during the show, I have my script open on my computer, and I have a camera operator, so Sarah Flores, who's wonderful over here, and she's controlling the cameras. Like she'll get the cameras into the right position, and I will take the cue to go to a camera. And all of this is detailed in the script. It's a pretty detailed operation, and that was the bulk of my job, especially that first week. Bless the actors because they're wonderful and they just were like, sure, whatever. But every 5 seconds I was saying hold while I figured out how to get them, what makes sense. I have to switch to this camera because this camera has to switch to this next preset. And it was a technical challenge for sure. But yeah, I think we came out with a really fun product, and I'm really excited to finally share everything we worked on.
Yeah, that's like a different, it's like a different set of skills. Like, ladies, how do you go about like remembering things like that? Like, you have to stand closer to the register, you have to get here at X point, or you have to look in this camera. When you do live theater, there are other things that you're worried about, but not necessarily these things. So how did you incorporate those into like your gambit of acting?
Just do it.
There's really only a few times that a specific camera needs to be addressed. There's not that many. Otherwise, Mitchell's pretty good at just finding where we are, wherever we go. I think, right?
Yes, but that also goes along with
stand by the cash register, Holland.
Yes, it also goes along with being consistent. Because though we have many presets that are pretty flexible, those presets can't change in and of themselves during something. So I'll often give notes again that are just so like annoying. But hey, at this moment, Holland, I need you to be like a little bit closer to the stool because you're getting a little bit out of frame.
Do I need to take that note now? Is that an actual note?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
I mean, I feel like it's just like blocking, like I was saying blocking earlier. It's kind of the same though. It's just you put that in your head just like you would blocking. Because you do, even though live theater has a little bit more give, you do always want to have a consistent performance. And you do always, because lighting is hitting in a certain way, even when it is a live, real, old school 2019 show. But pre-COVID, I guess. So yeah, it just is kind of like writing it in and putting it in your mind and repetition and doing it just like you would any other block, really.
And you don't know where the different, if with a live audience, you don't know who's looking at you at all times. And in this case, there may be a close-up on just one person. So in this case, you can act a fool knowing the camera's not on you, but you shouldn't, and you shouldn't do that. But in live theater with an audience, someone may be looking at you when you're.
I would hope so.
Yeah. And in this case, one camera may not be on you, so you can, pull the stray wig hair out of your eye if you have to.
Yeah,
'cause you know that camera isn't on you at that moment, and now that Mitchell knows that camera will be on me when that wig hair is in my eye again.
That's awesome. A great thing. So you guys are used to working with like a normal crew. You have like a crew normally on shows. And so now, Mitchell just mentioned Sarah, Flores, she said is a camera person who's near him during performance. And so you guys are working with a full film team basically kind of right now. You have people running cameras, you have people moving around and operating like moving cameras, and people setting presets and people doing slates with the very traditional Hollywood board. How is it different from a traditional theater crew? Is the camera crew different? And how have they incorporated new responsibilities?
That's a good question, Ebony. I think as far as a crew perspective, it's pretty similar to what a run crew would be for a live an in-person production. The camera operator is the exception, of course, and me being there every day, frankly. Once normally my job is done after opening and bye, have fun. So I guess those are the two major differences. There are different protocols that are in place just for safety of how we sanitize, and they're wearing masks the entire time. The only people who are unmasked during the show are Brooke and Holland. But beyond that, I think the structure is fairly similar to what our crews are like normally.
Which is just amazing and doing everything. Krista asks, what's your favorite moment / number in the show?
Oh,
Go on, Brooke.
That's hard because honestly, there's a few.
I feel like we might be the same in these.
Maybe. I mean, there is obviously there's a song in Act 2 that's this beautiful ballad that I get to sing, and that's probably one of my favorite moments. But there's a few moments, and I think one is during also Act 2, this number called "Just a Good Old Boy," and
Don't you dare!
Good old boy. There's a little moment. It cracks me up every time. It's hard to not break because I see her out of the corner of my eye, and she's doing this walk. Oh, it's funny. And so that makes me laugh. And it's actually Holland's song, Cowboy Casanova, that she sings. I really enjoy doing that because we get to sing back and forth, and we're just acting like a fool.
Okay, well, only go on.
Number 2, though. I should let Holland. I know there's
no, because I think Smile. Mitchell's asked me this question when we first thought we were only going to be away for 2 weeks, and we had a little at-home series. Mitchell, you and I sat in the same room that I'm in now, and I told you it was Smile. And Long Time Gone.
That was what I was going to say for Act 1. Yes.
This has been my same answer for this question has been Long Time Gone in the first act, because it's the first time you and I get to like just play. It's a really fun number, and there's an invisible possum that just happens to come into the thing, or maybe not. I mean, use your imagination. I have no doctor, but that one, and then Smile. I'm glad you like Cowboy Casanova, Brooke. Sorry.
It's just like, because
I do like it. I do like
her
it.
first moment in Act 2 that really like gets to just be Holland, and so I enjoy just like singing and watching her, and it's just funny. And again, I would agree. Act 1 is Long Time Gone, because it is the first time we get to sing together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fun. I've always loved that song from the Chicks, and
good.
And
new name.
But
Yes.
it's the first time, and Holland and I really do just kind of think it to play in that one.
I think the whole second act might be my favorite part of the show. This is that perfect formulaic production of the story in the first act and then the show in the second act. So the show within the show, it always tends to be a completely different feel from the show. Like Honky Tonk Angels had this, which Brooke and I have also done, and has the story leading up to the show at the second act. And so this is the kind of show that we end up doing a lot of. And but the second act in this one, I was actually telling my best friend last night on the way home, I said that the second act is probably my favorite entirely. But there's parts of the first act that I absolutely love. Oh my gosh. Smile and stop. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I want to let anyone know who's just joining us, or people who have been here, don't be shy. Put your questions in the comments. We're gonna take just probably one or two more questions. I'm gonna ask a question while you guys get brave enough to put one in the comment section. I remember when we were in the theater in March before we left the shoes from the show. So just tell me about your shoes. Tell me about these boots. Tell me about how they changed from Act 1 to Act 2. Tell us about the shoes.
There's a funny story with our Act 2 shoes, but Brooke, go ahead.
I mean, my boots go from kind of short cowboy boots that are kind of like meh, and then they turn into
they're cute.
Like shoes with fringe and rhinestones. So it's very like the shoes go on the journey that Lana May also goes on, if you will.
Nice.
So,
yes,
even in general,
shout out to Macy Lynn.
Yes.
And
the costumes you did it really thoughtful.
They're great.
Awesome.
I go from like all denim to, by the end of Act 1, I'm in like a red polka dot shirt. So you can kind of see, and that's a sign of an amazing costumer, costuming designer, where they, their costumes help reflect, and it's subtle, and you might not even notice it, but it also helps, the actor too, the journey that my character is going on. So yeah.
We wear the same shoes in Act 2, which are white and kind of sparkly with orange fringe on the side with diamonds, except for Brooke and I guess fortunately have the same size foot. But there's been several times when either we will get the wrong ones or we will put the wrong wrong boot on the wrong foot. And that has happened with an audience before all of this stopped. I wore 2 specific shows, both switched. Those boots were on the wrong foot. And then sometimes I had Brooke's boots at one point, which didn't really matter, but they have molded. We've since known they've molded to our feet, and they're very comfortable, and you can tell when they're not right.
That's amazing. I like this question. What is the best thing you have learned from these characters that you can apply to your life? Because these are really great characters.
I won't speak for the characters, but I'll speak for the show itself and some of the larger themes the show, I think, plays with. What I love about Roger's work is, and we talk about how fun it is to work with him, and his shows are always so effervescent and fun. But at the core of his shows, I think what makes them work so well is that they're real people with real wants and obstacles to what they want. Even if it's all structured around country music or doo-wop music, like Life Could Be a Dream, they're still real people that he writes real people. And so in doing that and thinking about like the arc of this show, what responds to me is, or what I respond to is this idea of reinventing yourself and becoming the best version of yourself that you want to be. And just the idea that it's never too late to do that. And it's also never too late to, for new friendships. Also the power of friendships and how you can lift up each other through friendship. I love both those things about the show.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah, I would agree completely with that. I think it's wonderful too to see, you know, in this world that we are in now. I think women uplifting other women is really important.
Yes.
And so, and everyone in general, but just, you know, obviously. And so I love that this show, they don't tear, there's a couple times when they banter back and forth, but they're never tearing each other down. And especially at the end, they're lifting each other up. And we both are just watching our friend, you know, sing on stage, and we get to kind of back them up. But then, you know, it just feels like a very collaborative and supportive moment for two women who get to just kind of celebrate each other's strengths. And as Mitchell said, the power of friendship, which I definitely would think from my character, and the love of family, and she loves her roots, but is not also afraid to let this new person teach her some things.
Yeah. And Roger is one wonderful thing about Roger is he writes a lot of shows with a lot of strong women, if not entirely women. And I was going to add to what Mitchell said too. A lot of the characters that Roger writes are people that he actually has in his life. He could tell you exactly who in Wonderettes was in his life and how he kind of wrote that. So I don't know if we've asked him about this, but who he's pulled from Lana Mae and Katie, but he may have said that. I don't know, but he's always kind of pulled different characteristics from people, and he writes a lot of good stuff for a lot of women, and you can rely on him for that.
That's amazing. And yes, I agree. We need strong women right now. And that's so awesome that we're seeing a show that's about friendship. And I think that's a great place for us to end on. So I want to thank the audiences who are joining us for going on this journey with us from March to now, going from having planned on coming to the theater to see these ladies perform live, to pivoting and watching them perform in your homes as they perform live for you inside the Rochelle and Max Levitt Theater. So thank you all for joining us for this journey. We are all in it together. Like the lady said, and like Mitchell said earlier, it is never too late to pivot. And we have been learning that, and we're continuing to learn it from Honky Tonk Laundry and Roger Bean. And so thank you guys so much. Remember that you can watch Honky Tonk Laundry through this Sunday. Please visit our website at www.stageshouston.com to find out how you can get tickets for that. Thank you so much, Brooke, Holland, and Mitchell, for joining us for our community talkback. And we hope that you watch Honky Tonk Laundry live from the Gordy. Thank you so much and have a great day.